Let's talk to Harold the H. Peacock. He's going to tell us a story. G'day, Harold.
Good morning, Danny. Yeah, this is a story that, you got to count your lucky stars.
Yes.
This fella was unlucky.
1868, Patrick Noonan was forced to pay for a funeral of his wife's first husband, but his luck got worse.
Yeah, Patrick Noonan, look, he was a farmer from Mutdapilly and was one of the most unfortunate people in Ipswich history from the 1870s.
Yeah.
You see, it all started in 1873. Noonan was taken to court by George Dowden, who was Ipswich's first cabinet maker and upholsterer, one of the first undertakers here and the first undertaker in Australia to actually die on the job. Anyway, it didn't really seem fair, but the upshot was that Noonan when he married the widow Ellen Collins in 1868, he in fact also became responsible for the funeral costs of her first husband, who had died 2 years earlier. And while that late husband had been killed by the wheel of his dray running over him, the death of Ellen's former brother-in-law, Patrick Collins, had been even more dramatic. You see, in 1872, he was hanged at the Brisbane jail on Petrie Terrace for murder. Anyway, Patrick Noonan married Ellen and took on raising her two Collins children, and together they had 3 more kids. But when his young daughter Mary gave birth to an illegitimate child in 1886, Noonan was again back in court, this time suing the alleged father for breach of promise of marriage. Now, despite Mary's uncle, half-brother, mother and the alleged father's cousin all testifying that he had told them that he would marry the girl, the young man denied it. In any case, the court ordered that Noonan's daughter be paid 7 shillings per week for 12 months. Now, Noonan's unfortunate experiences didn't end there. You see, in the Ipswich floods of 1887, Noonan, his wife Ellen, and 3 children and a grandchild made efforts to reach a place of safety. As soon as the waters reached their home, Noonan grabbed the 2 youngest children under his arms. They were a 7-year-old daughter and a 9-month-old grandson, who'd actually been the subject of that court case. Anyway, he waded with them through the water toward higher ground. Noonan was followed by the others and his wife Ellen bringing up the rear. By the time the water was several feet deep, Noonan hadn't got far when he was struck heavily by a floating log. And both children were knocked from his grasp and they were not seen alive again. The current got stronger and those who remained alive had enormous difficulty in reaching safety. When last seen alive, Noonan's wife Ellen was clinging to a tree. So on that awful day in 1887, Noonan lost his wife, daughter and grandson, all of whom perished virtually within his grasp. Now, Noonan's life continued to be cursed. In 1914, just before the First World War, his son was still young when he died of a heart attack in North Ipswich after running to catch his train to work. And then during the war in 1918, Noonan's grandson, his name was Clifford Pfister, and he was a half-brother of the court case child. Anyway, he was a German POW when he was shot through the head by a German guard while collecting turnips. And so poor Patrick Noonan, he lost a grandson in the war, a son before the war, a grandson, daughter and wife in the floods, and even had to pay for the funeral of his wife's first husband, whose brother had been hung for murder.
He needs to buy a casket ticket.
Yeah, and the rest of us need to remember that whenever we feel sorry for ourselves, just remember Patrick Noonan. And there's always someone less fortunate. So we got to count our blessings every single day, don't we, Danny?
Didn't he have some bad luck? Like, seriously. And people are out there listening now that have that sort of luck, and it's very sad. And so our thoughts and prayers are with them. And, yeah, when you're thinking, there's always someone worse off than you, isn't there?
That's right. You don't need to look far back in history. In this case, it was back in the 1860s and 1870s. Poor Patrick Noonan right here in Ipswich. His family was just decimated around him.
Now, we've got a new listener.
Yeah, look, I want to give a shout-out to first-time listener Nick down in Melbourne, because I was speaking to him this week. I got a call from him, and I know that Nick and his wife Demi are listening at home in Melbourne right now, and he loves the history stories. So hello to Nick and Demi and their children. They're all listening.
Big shout out to Nick and Demi down there in Victoria and Melbourne. Now, Thursday Island, you're going to be at next week.
Yeah, look, next Saturday I'll be coming to you live from Thursday Island, and I'll tell you about a ship's bell there with a haunting history and a surprising connection to Ipswich. I'm up in the Torres Strait raising money for the charity Drug Arm. So please, if everyone could go to historyouthere.com and follow the links to my Torres Strait Hike for Health and donate to Drug Arm today. It's a worthy cause, and I'll be walking around the islands raising money for it.
Good on you, mate. You got a good heart and your stuff's very good radio. Very interesting. That was, ladies and gentlemen, historyouthere.com. There is Mr. Harold H. Peacock on West Bremer Radio 820.